welcome to Otterwood Cottage, where we're building a brand new smallholding in the heart of the Lincolnshire countryside. I'm Emma, and we're delighted to have you along with us. You join me today in the dairy, our outside kitchen really. It used to be the tack room in our home's previous life. And you're in here with me today because I am planning to unbox and use for the first time a dehydrator that we have finally bought. So I have been procrastinating about buying a dehydrator for an embarrassingly long time. It's something I've been thinking about since we've had the allotment at the old place. And the reason I've been so hesitant is the one I'd really like to have bought is just insanely expensive, and at no point have I been able to justify spending that much money on a dehydrator when I don't even really know if we're going to use it as much as I think we may. So I've been back and forth, didn't buy it, very boring, and in the end just decided to stop procrastinating and just get a cheaper. So this is one I got from everybody's favourite online store, and it was £35, I think, something like that. I'll put the link to it in the description. So still not very cheap. This, you know, it's a decent chunk of money, but a lot cheaper than the one I'd been coveting and could never quite bring myself to buy. So I'm going to unbox this now, and I'm going to pop some chilies in here to dehydrate. And while I do that, I'm going to catch you up on everything that's been going on the smallholding, and we can decide together whether cheap is okay or whether I'm actually going to regret this. So fresh out of the box, let's see first of all how easy it is to put together. You're going to get some rustling. Unnecessary plastic, but that's going to be the case no matter what you buy, I think. My first hurdle is polystyrene, which makes me feel funny. Forgive me while I feel a bit ill about doing this. I'm trying to do this without touching the polystyrene, but I'm going to have to touch it now. Luckily only 2 bits. So first thing I'm pleased with is there is no construction. It's come straight out of the box exactly as it's going to be used, I think. I don't think there's anything additional I need to do, which, whilst I do love a Meccano puzzle, when you just want to get on and get dehydrating, get preserving, that's quite handy. Okay, so that is going to go in the corner just behind you. I have a plug just here, which you can plug into. Turned it on and it's making a fan noise. So far so good. I'm going to turn that off. And in the top is the instruction manual. Let's have a little read. Second thing I like, only 4 pages in the construction manual. Instruction manual. All the usual safety warnings, how to clean it, how it works, drying times, and then at the back is a drying time chart. Does it have chilies on it? Hot peppers, 4 to 12 hours. And it should feel leathery. Is the dryness test. Doesn't say what temperature. Okay, so it gives drying times but not drying temperatures. Otherwise it seems pretty straightforward. Right, let's have a look at the racks. They're okay, circular. The holes at the outer edge might be a little bit bigger than you might want for, especially when you look at these little teeny tiny chilies. So I'll have to put those on the middle, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, they would drop through the outer edge. So, I mean, it's a minor complaint. So here is my bowl of chilies. I have a mix of jalapenos, rainbow chilies in various colours from my rainbow chilli plant, and the teeny tiny prairie fires, which we've already used for some oil and are delicious but hot. So I'm gonna wash this up, which you don't need to watch, and then I'll get preparing the chilies. All right, that's all washed and dried. So my next job is to start to prepare my chilies. Now these little prairie fires I'm gonna do whole, and then they're a good gauge for sort of size, because I'm dehydrating everything together. I'm gonna want to try and keep everything at a fairly similar size, or certainly everything on one rack at a similar size. Right, while I'm laying those out, what shall I catch you up on? Well, we have had quite a lot to catch you up on the Smallholding in the last couple of weeks. So first of all, some very exciting news is there are some new arrivals on the Smallholding. So a couple of weeks ago was Mama Wilkes's birthday, and what else do you get someone who lives on a Smallholding for their birthday other than their very own chickens? So she was keen to have some chickens of her own that weren't just laying hens but were a little bit fancier, and we looked locally, and I had been looking originally for silkies. They're the kind of fluffy headed cute ones, but what I found, and they are just adorable, is some silky feathered pekins. I hadn't come across those before, but they've got the feather, that gorgeous foot feather of a silky where they look like they've got their slippers on, and their feathers are really soft and gorgeous, but they haven't got the kind of fluffy head that the silkies that you might be used to seeing have got. They are an adorable new addition to the Smallholding, and we're loving having them. So we've tried a couple of times to introduce them to the big girls. Big girls haven't been very kind to them. So we are keeping them separate for now, and we'll continue to try slowly over time to introduce them, and if not, we'll just keep them in a completely separate area. They are a breeding pair, or they will be a breeding pair when they're older, and so we might be able to have some very gorgeous little silky feathered pekin chicks on the Smallholding, which we're really excited about. They have been an absolute joy to add, and they are just here they might produce eggs in time, but they aren't here for egg production. They're here just to look adorable, which they're already doing. Right, I'm just preparing the jalapenos next, and I'm doing those by chopping them in half, and these ones I am de-seeding. So that's the first thing to catch you up on, are the new arrivals. Second thing is that the weather has been playing havoc, as I'm sure it has for many of you. We've had the wonderful dry spell, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about. I absolutely love the sunshine, and we have enjoyed it as a family, eating outside and being in the sunshine. But as is typical, the most glorious weather was all before schools broke up, which those of you who work in education will know, the couple of weeks before the end of school is our busiest time for anyone working in education. So it's been absolutely crazy at work. I've not really been able to get much done on the Smallholding, and I kept thinking that's okay though, because in a couple of weeks I'm going to be much more available. Everything will quiet down when the school holidays hit, and that is true. Everything has quietened down now the school holidays have hit, and work is much quieter. But at the same time, we were then hit with torrential rain. So the first, tell me it's the school holidays without telling me it's the school holidays. Absolutely torrential rain for 3 days straight. So again, I wasn't complaining, because actually the ground desperately needed it. Our trees in the woodland in particular were suffering, and we just can't water them by hand. It's A, it would take too long, and B, it would be such a huge use of water, it wouldn't be right. So they have very much enjoyed it. The woodland, while I'm talking about the woodland, we'll catch you up on that. We have lost a number of trees, or they never took actually. I think possibly to do with the dry weather, possibly to do with the trees themselves. Difficult to say because you can't prove a negative, so I don't know if the weather had been different and we hadn't had such a dry summer following straight on from such a wet winter, maybe the trees would have done better. Impossible to say. But we've probably lost, I would say, a third of them. I need to do a full inventory. Now, the Woodland Trust do say in the contract that if it is not through kind of deliberate mismanagement, which I think we can show it isn't, they will replace any lost in the first year. So next bare root season, we can, I think, apply to replace those that are lost. So we will need at some point to do a full inventory. So that's a bit of a shame because lots of them haven't come along, but having said that, we do have 2/3 roughly that have come along and are growing beautifully. It's hard to tell because they're all in their tree guards, which they have to be because the rabbits, you don't need to tell you again about the rabbits, so they do need to be in their tree guards. But it's a bit of a shame because you do have to kind of go up and peer in. So I can give you some footage of the trees, but it won't look anything different to how you've seen it before because at the minute most of them are still inside their tree guards. So that's where we are with the woodland. What else to catch you up on? The veg plot we've had some mixed kind of results. We've been doing our very best to keep on top of the watering. Haven't managed it with everything. The peas suffered the most, so we've had a couple of harvests from the peas. We've had some of those in some pasta pea and pesto, which we love, and we've had them in a delicious risotto, so we have been enjoying them, but we've not had a prolific pea year, I think, just because of the dry weather and us not being able to keep on top of the watering as much as we might have liked. However, we have been able to keep the polytunnel going. Confession time for the polytunnel. Guess what I did? Those of you that have been watching for a while are gonna slap your forehead to your hands. What did I say would happen if we put an automatic watering system in? I would forget and leave it running all night. Guess what I did? I forgot and left it running all night. It's really bad. I'm really ashamed to admit it because what a waste of water, and also it's meant that loads of the tomatoes have split because just way too much water all at once. We actually had a notification from the water company saying you seem to have used an awful lot of water. What's happening? So yeah, really ashamed to admit that. I am promising myself and everybody else to do better and set that timer, which I said I would do when we put it in, and then forgot. But the tomatoes are doing well. The aubergines, my goodness, I'm so excited about the aubergines. I have never grown a decent aubergine for eating. Last year was the first year we actually managed to get any to grow at all, and they got absolutely decimated by the slugs. You will remember that awful wet summer we had last year. So we have had some amazing aubergines and they are growing beautifully. So that is a massive success. Really, really pleased with that. And peppers and chilies, as you can see, are also doing really well. So lots of successes. What else have we got coming out of the garden? Courgettes in abundance are coming out of the garden. The beans are just starting to come, although a lot of the beans I'm growing this year are drying beans, so I'm not taking them even though they're growing well, but we have got some runner beans just starting to come, so we'll start taking those. The celery is coming, the carrots are beautiful, the garlic, that's something to update you on. So we have now harvested the garlic. We didn't get footage of that because Mr. H did that for me whilst I was doing other things. Little Miss has got a summer job, but we live in the middle of nowhere and she doesn't drive yet, so her having a summer job involves quite a lot of driving back and forth to drop her off and pick her up, which we are very happy to do, but it does mean that time that might otherwise be spent filming for you and doing stuff on the small holding is spent enjoying fair trade-off, I think. So he did the garlic for me, and the weather wasn't great, so we left harvesting the garlic too long, really. We should have done it in that week before the end of term when the weather was absolutely glorious and completely dry, and we just couldn't because work was too busy, we were away, we were doing other things. So sod's law was that we had to do it on a wet day, which isn't ideal. And we'll give you some footage of the it's definitely Heath Robinson setup we've got in the garage to dry that, but it's working, so hey ho. That is all up, and the garlic is looking well. There's some really big ones, and as is always the case with these things, some fantastic looking ones and some that are smaller and a bit less impressive, but even so, it's all good eating. And I think we're going to have, all being well and fingers crossed, enough to get us through the year, and I hope also enough to plant for next year. We're going to pick the biggest, best looking ones and use those as next year's seed. Second tray. I'm not going to fill 2 trays. Oh, it looks so pretty. Look how pretty that looks in there. So cute. What we didn't do though, and just one of those things that we didn't think about it till it was too late, was harvest them in there separate, because we planted different varieties and we didn't harvest them and separate them out into their varieties, so they're all just mixed together, which isn't the end of the world for eating because garlic is garlic, but it does mean we now don't know which was the kind of best performing garlic of the ones we grow. But I don't think that matters too much, because if we save the best looking ones and grow those on, then they should perform well next year, hopefully. Right, let me turn you around and show you what I'm doing with this dehydrator. So there we go, chilies are all in. I've set it, after Googling, because the instructions didn't tell me temperatures, I've set it to just almost 60 degrees. So it says to do it between 57 and 60 for chilies. And this is going to go for, now they're only small, so it says for hot peppers 4 to 12 hours. So I'm going to try it for 4 and come and check where they're at that point. Let's see. I'll bring you back when they're dry. Right, the shower has passed, so I'm just quickly going to bring you out to show you the empty garlic bed. I did some interplanting, but only 1 row of beetroot survived of all the things I interplanted. We've had a bit of a disaster with our field beans because they have gone black and are looking pretty gross. Now, I wasn't really planning to do much with these field beans. We were potentially going to try drying them just for planting for next year, which I guess we may still be able to do. I don't know. But they're more or less here as ground cover. So these are going to come out. I'm not going to do a full tour now. There will be another time for a full tour, but I just thought I would bring you out and give you a little bit of an overview of where we're at. Corn is looking great over there. Look, I've planted those extra squash that I sowed with great hope and not a lot of sense at this time of year to be sowing them, but let's see. If nothing else, they'll give us ground cover. Beans over there, look, coming along well. I need to be careful this doesn't turn into a full tour, because that's not the purpose of this video. We'll do that another day. Let me bring you into the poly, because I think it's about to start raining again. Oh, I do want to show you this though. Look at these melons. How exciting, they're everywhere. Again, never managed to get melons to grow successfully, so I'm very excited about that. And Claire, look, finally the leaf has started. I think it's probably too late, but hey ho. I think that's probably caught you up on most of the key things. I wanted to tell you about the chicks, I wanted to tell you about the aubergines and the garlic, and I wanted to share with you the purchasing of the dehydrator. So I think I've covered. I really should start writing these things down instead of just turning the camera on and talking, shouldn't I? So the other thing I will just tell you about is the other bit of preserving we've been doing is to finally use up the garlic scapes. So that was interesting. We harvested the garlic scapes probably 3 weeks ago, maybe even a bit longer, and I was really surprised that they have lasted brilliantly in the fridge. So first of all, new bit of knowledge for me, garlic scapes will last for 3 or 4 weeks in the fridge quite happily. And second of all, I made some new products with them that I've not tried before, and there's a couple of videos going up about those. So I made a carrot top and garlic scape pesto, which is so good. Try it if you can. You don't need to use garlic scapes, you can just use fresh garlic, wet garlic instead. But as a use for what would otherwise be a waste product, carrot tops, it is delicious. Our guinea pigs were sad though, because our guinea pigs normally get carrot tops, and instead we took them for pesto. I also made a garlic scape butter, which is going to be fantastic for kind of putting on top of vegetables and steaks and things like that. And I also just chopped and froze some. So there's going to be a couple of videos coming up. One may already be up on the carrot top and scape pesto, and then the other ways I've preserved the garlic scapes. There'll be a couple of videos, voiceover ones coming up for that. So right now I am going to go and do a little bit of shopping in the garden, because Wilkes is off to see his mum up in Scotland and his sister, and we're going to put together a little care package of Otterwood fruit and veg for them to take up and enjoy. So I'm going to do a little bit of polytunnel and veg plot shopping now to put a little care package together, and then I will bring you back to see how that dehydrator is getting on a bit later. Catch you in a bit. Here we go. So this ended up going overnight, so a good 12 hours in the end, and look how pretty! They've dried beautifully, ready to go in a jar and be used for some yummy food. Pleased with that.